Hello, I'm Reza, and today we're going to have a look at the VGN A75, which is a $60 budget Hall of Fame keyboard with a 75% layout. There are two variants, of which two of them are a simple black and white, and there are three hues of gradients, which are black, blue, and pink. Here, only the gradients are backlit and the other two have solid legends. It also has a metal knob in the corner. This keyboard has silicone gaskets, one form between the plates and the PCB, and has a silicone pad at the bottom. This is pretty good for $60 and will reduce the need for further modding. Now, talking about the specs, this keyboard comes with Otemu beige pink switches. These switches of course support rapid trigger and have a 40 level adjustable actuation distance between 0.1mm to 4mm. This keyboard also has up to 1000Hz support rate. It's also hot swappable, but from what I know, it only supports Otemu switches, so keep that in mind. And also does not support VIA but does support QMK. Let me show you a few of the important FN key combinations now. Now, talking about my experience with the build quality of the keyboard, honestly it's really good for a $60 board. It feels premium for the price and is very weighty. It does not sound hollow when hit from the back due to the silicone, and the PBT keycaps look really nice. Though keep in mind that these keycaps are not double shot PBT keycaps, nor are they really thick. So if you're already planning on buying new keycaps, do get the cheaper version. One more thing to add, the pricing of the keyboard also depends on where you live. I've seen some people who actually bought this keyboard for as low as $35 on Reddit. Though don't discourage yourself, this is really good even if you pay $60. It's just that the lower cost makes it an even better deal. The legends are clear and the lighting is uniform, and due to the south facing LEDs is really bright. The only real issue that stands out for me is that the keycaps are a little cheap feeling, though you'll only really get high quality keycaps on mechanical keyboards for this price. The knob at the top right of the keyboard has a soft tactile feel to it, and when pressing down the button, it's really hard, but it has a nice click to it. The switches do come decently factory lube, but they still have a bit of scratchiness to them. As an optional step, you can also add your own lube. It makes the keyboard sound a little better and also makes the switches feel a little smoother. Sadly, the switches are really hard to take apart as they're Otemu style switches. You need a non-standard Kali style switch opener for them. Though in my modding process, I have a way to open them up without a switch opener. One more thing to add is that the disassembly of the keyboard is discouraged due to the clip mounts. Though these clip mounts are not that strong and are easy to remove. I think you'll be fine doing it a few times even if you're a beginner. Now, let me play a sound test of the keyboard completely stock with no mods. Looking at the software, you can already tell that it's pretty simple. Though the snap tap feature is yet to be implemented, let me just go over all of the important menus. The main page pretty much handles all your important settings, like the stroke settings which you use to map the rapid trigger functions. You can also create macros right here. Now, the page that says light speed pretty much makes 4 specific keys report at the highest hertz, which should be 1000Hz. Moving on to the next page, this allows you to change the general function key combos. The next page is for macros. Then the light page allows you to create some RGB effects. They also have a good amount of options for you to choose already built in. The final page is pretty much the settings page and will allow you to update the app and the firmware of your keyboard. You can also calibrate your keyboard using this option right here. Now, as this is my first magnetic keyboard, I'm still having a hard time getting used to it. It makes a larger impact than you think. The high response time combined with the rapid trigger function makes my movement a lot more snappier than before. Coming from a mechanical keyboard, at first I had a few issues, but soon I got used to the rapid trigger and was able to counter strafe a lot better. Playing a game like the finals though is a completely different experience. It feels so much snappier, so for games with more freedom of movement, I would say this keyboard is perfect and will need very little getting used to. The only thing is that sometimes I let go of the switch early due to not being used to the rapid trigger. Now, for a rhythm game like Osu, honestly, all I can say is that it's very different. My inputs are more accurate, my streams have become a little inconsistent due to not being used to rapid trigger. There are some times when I stream way too fast and sometimes when I stream way too slow. It's just something I'll get used to again, or my settings are messed up. Now, overall, I think this keyboard is way better than my old one. It has a higher response time and also has a lot of customization options. You can also change the rapid trigger settings on a per key basis if you'd like. Now let's move on to the next segment of the video. Now when I first tried this keyboard, I found the sound a little disappointing. So now I'm gonna mod it to make it sound at least decent. Let's get the easiest mod out of the way first, the stabilizers. For this I did the holee mod and lubing, which I did not record, so I'll just link a video down in the description of how to do that. Then I also added some medical tape on the plate under the stabilizers and at the edges of the stabilizer slots, so it reduces the pinging and reduced stab wobble respectively. Next, I took some Krytox 205 grade 0 and lubed the switches. Something very good to know is that this switch is larger than normal, so this means you cannot use a normal Kali switch opener. Now one issue I found trying to manually open the switch is that it's really hard, so I found an easier way to do it. I recommend gloves for this to avoid bruising. Take a soft metal like something from the cover of a set of tablets. Now cut out a strip and fold it a few times to make it thin enough to fit in and thick enough to hold the specific side of the switch flap. You can see a tiny little dot on it which is not present on the other side. Now use some angled tweezers, you can also use normal ones, and pry open the other side. Then use the gap created by the piece of metal to also pry out the original side. And now you have an open switch. Now we move on by lubing the bottom housing with a fair amount of lube. With a little more lube, we do the spring, then the stem with a dip of lube, and finally finish it off by just brushing the top housing. Then you put the switch back in place and do this 81 more times. After all that's done and over with, we open up the keyboard and tape mod the PCB with masking tape. For a 75% keyboard like this one, honestly it's better to add about 3 to 4 layers of masking tape. Any more than that is overkill. I would say that this can really cause a massive impact to the sound apart from the lubing. I also added a bit more foam to the case before closing it all up. And now, let me play a sound test before and after the mods. Due to the modding, this keyboard sounds a fair bit better. If I were to describe how it sounds, I would say that it sounds something like in between a talkie sound and a clacky sound. Now, when compared to a mechanical keyboard, it sounds pretty okay, or decent at least, but when compared to other magnetic keyboards at this price, I think this is fairly good for a very cheap mod. Another thing you can do in the future for this keyboard would just be to add different keycaps, like double shot PBT switches or ABS, whichever one will suit your sound profile. One more upgrade you can add is to buy some new plate mount stabilizers. For example, you can just buy some Durock stabilizers. They'll be probably way better than this one, and I'm planning to do that in the future. Well, now let's move on to my final thoughts. Now, to end this all off, let me ask 3 questions and answer them. 1. Is this a good keyboard? In my opinion, yes, it's a good magnetic keyboard that won't break your bank and does not really compromise on build quality nor performance. The sound, however, is only decent and not really special. Though there's one thing that's a bit of a bummer. This keyboard is hot swap, but does not support any other switch other than Otemu. This is not good for a person who's looking to replace their switches with different ones in the future. 2. Who is this for? This keyboard is for someone who plays a fair amount of games and is looking for a HE keyboard for performance and decent sound that doesn't look like shit. You don't even need to mod it really, as it's pretty good stock. It's a perfect first magnetic keyboard and is really good for someone looking to upgrade. 3. Who isn't this for? This keyboard is not recommended to someone who needs a keyboard for typing or office work. You can get a way better mechanical keyboard for this price that suits your needs. Those options will also sound better than this keyboard and might also offer better keycaps. I hope you can make a better decision with my video. Do check the description for links and kindly like, comment and subscribe. Bye.